I want to personally thank Caitlin Clark for lifting up our sport. She carried a heavy load for our sport.
Honestly, no disappointment. Like, I think it just gives you something to work for. That's a dream. Hopefully one day I can be there. And I think it's just a little more motivation. You remember.
And you know what? At last, it took place. Team USA has formally expressed remorse for not selecting Caitlin Clark. Is anyone genuinely surprised, after all? Who would have thought that she wouldn't be selected in the first place? It's not as though millions of people have been literally imploring Team USA to avoid making such a huge, terrible mistake. It doesn't matter if you've been watching women's basketball for decades, or if you're a new fan enthralled with a Clark phenomenon. From the rooftops, we have all been yelling at them to avoid making this grave error. What actions did they take? In addition to making the error, they're now making amends in public and suffering the price for it. The Indiana coach even disclosed that Clark informed her they had unleashed a monster because the matter has become so heated. To be honest, you enjoy hearing it. Best-selling novelist and well-known sports commentator Christine Brennan has been following this story for weeks, and she has a very harsh opinion. I've seen some bad team and athlete selection decisions in the 40 years I've covered the Olympics, but this is the worst by far, she wrote in her USA Today column. Give that some thought. 40 years of sports reporting, and she continues with a zinger, saying, "This is the worst decision she's ever seen." We should probably not be shocked, though, as we've known for years that the folks who operate the Olympic Games are the last amateurs. Oh no. On the other hand, Jamal Hill, a contributing writer for The Atlantic, stated that people should quit worrying so much about every single choice. Even so, she acknowledged that Clark would eventually make an Olympic squad. And because it's obvious that USA Basketball already regrets not choosing her, I wholeheartedly concur that she will. And it all comes back to a point that Stephen A. is one of the main reasons they should regret it. Smith, which I fully co-signed. According to him, understanding the marketing aspect of sports is crucial. Furthermore, this wasn't merely a failure in that regard. It was a total disaster.
Apologizing? You make decisions, marketing. I want people watching. I want eyeballs. I want advertising dollars. Why? Because he'll get paid. Y'all will get paid. And guess who else will get paid? You see where I'm coming from? That's what it's about. Stop acting otherwise. We know this. You don't sit up there and pass on Caitlin Clark. It was stupid, Team USA. It was a dumb decision. Everybody, there's always somebody that's a sacrificial lamb. I respect the hell out of Rebecca Lobo and what she broke down. I understand it. It was a stupid decision because it compromises what your ultimate goal is, which is to elevate the WNBA.
And let me just add that I completely agree with Stephen A. Smith on this point, even though I don't think he usually phrases things in the best way. A business degree is not required. A marketing major is not required. Furthermore, the obvious fact that Caitlin Clark attracts viewers doesn't even require a college degree. Right now, it's the most evident fact in athletics. Therefore, adding her to the Squad USA Women's Basketball Squad, a team that is followed and analyzed globally, would only help the entire sport of women's basketball develop and burst in popularity if she is attracting spectators on a historic record-breaking level. It's only common sense. The Olympic stage would have been the ultimate catalyst for the current rate of progress. However, she was left off of that roster for an unknown reason. Because of this, I have to disagree with the feeling in some footage that implies this was just a basketball choice. Further investigation reveals signs of further activity occurring behind the scenes. For example, it's evident that one of the game's legends, Diana Taurasi, was adamantly against Caitlin Clark having a big direct impact from the start. The truth is on its way. Alright, so there are layers to this, and that's just what life is like for all of us. If you go back and review her remarks, you'll see that she alluded to the fact that Clark's extraordinary performance at the University of Iowa wouldn't immediately translate to the WNBA without mentioning Clark's name. It was a traditional rookie welcome to the league, but it seemed to have a bit more weight and caution. Additionally, an intriguing rumor began to circulate that Cheryl Reeve, the Minnesota Lynx and Team USA coach had a personal grudge against Clark. Following the Minnesota Lynx game against the Indiana Fever, this notion became very popular. She wasn't exactly the biggest fan of Caitlin Clark, as many spectators could see by her behavior on the sidelines and the way she coached her body language during the game. There may have been some internal politics at work well beyond what was taking place on the court, as evidenced by the kind of subtle yet potent nonverbal communication that says volumes.
Reality is coming.
Okay.
There's levels to this thing, and that's just life.
Let me now attempt to elucidate the official explanation for Caitlin Clark's exclusion from the Team USA selection for the 2024 Olympic Games. We were all completely shocked to hear that the 22-year-old phenomenon had gone unnoticed, but Jen Rosati, the chair of the Women's National Team Committee, eventually provided an explanation. She clarified that the selection of the players that USA basketball coach Cheryl Reeve would bring to Paris in July was based on a long and detailed list of requirements. The worst part is this. Crucially, she said that popularity and television ratings had no bearing. Clark's chances were severely damaged by this one truth right away. Given that she is unquestionably the most well-liked player in the WNBA, she draws enormous television audiences and sells out venues from coast to coast. It just sounds so strange, especially when you consider that organizing the entire Olympic Games is really a massive marketing operation for the host nation. Rosati emphasized that Caitlin and the other players who were left off the team were evaluated based on their full body of work during this 3-year evaluation process. She explained that although Caitlin Clark had particular circumstances, she was happy that the committee strictly adhered to their selection criterion, which expressly eliminated marketability and TV viewership. When selecting the 12 athletes who would go across the Atlantic in an attempt to capture an 8th consecutive gold medal, the committee was reportedly told to ignore all other influences and simply follow their predetermined list. Rosati made it clear that the committee's sole responsibility was to choose the top 12 players using these precise standards. A process that began when Caitlin was still leading the NCAA 3 years ago. What were these requirements then? U.S. citizenship, availability, playing ability, versatility, coachability, attitude, team adaptability, idea, leadership, and how well they adjust to foreign environments were among them. Competition, as well as their potential to help the squad succeed. Although it's still entirely unknown which of these particular requirements Clark allegedly didn't achieve, she stated she isn't dissatisfied and intends to use this as motivation. Then, it was suggested that Caitlin Clark was left off the team in order to prevent upsetting her supporters by not getting enough playing time. The fact that some of the older WNBA players are attempting to defend their territory and don't want to see her excel so soon, however, appears to be the true problem for a lot of people. When you take into account that Diana Taurasi, Candace Parker, and Breanna Stewart all represented Team USA prior to ever playing a WNBA match. For a player like Clark, the standard had already been established. Nevertheless, Clark handled the matter with complete poise in spite of everything. She has been actively supporting Team USA during the Olympics in Paris, refusing to let it depress her. The Indiana Fever player Clark even made a joke about skipping her own practice in order to watch more of the game. When asked if she was disappointed, she responded that she was genuinely inspired, viewing this as a fantastic chance to put in more effort and get ready for the next opportunity. She remarked, "For years comes fast," demonstrating a maturity much above her years. Then came the games where a significant problem was revealed by the attendance figures. In contrast, the Spain versus China game had 27,200 when a fan displayed a banner that said, "You need Caitlin Clark to beat us." While Team USA's match against Japan drew just 13,040 live viewers, more than 8,000 fewer than the average attendance in the early days, Nigeria versus Australia drew nearly 24,000. It's hilarious because, although Clark is not necessary for Team USA to win, her presence would have undoubtedly drawn in more viewers. Even though they defeated Japan 102-76, the circumstances demonstrate how much work seemed to go into keeping her out. The justification that she doesn't want her supporters to be upset about her playing time is becoming less and less convincing. The admittance followed. A screening committee member named Mike the Bull even expressed sadness about the choice in an NBC Sports interview. He claimed that Clark's recent stellar performances would have made her a formidable contender if they were making the choice right now. Clark has averaged 17.9 points and 10.4 assists per game since the ruling. In one game, he even established a record with 19 assists. Given how her involvement may have increased interest in their quest for an 8th consecutive gold medal, the Bulls' comments suggest that Clark's denial might have been a significant missed opportunity. What do you think about her exclusion and how it affected the number of viewers? In 4 years, do you think she'll make the team? Tell us in the comments, and remember to hit the bell button, like, and subscribe. The Fever's next game is against Diana Taurasi and the Phoenix Mercury on August 16th. Caitlin Clark's exclusion from Team USA was ultimately more than a roster choice. It turned into a pivotal moment for women's basketball, demonstrating both how far the sport has come and how far the system still needs to go. Her absence not only eliminated a player but also a moment, as evidenced by the dwindling viewership, vacant seats, public outcry, and even the regret expressed by committee members. Her impact goes well beyond assists and points. She brings an electricity that cannot be produced, fills venues, and breaks TV records. Additionally, the fact that few people attended their Olympic Games while supporters carried posters that read, "You need Caitlin Clark," tells you everything. Despite all the controversy, she has responded with unwavering motivation and poise. "For years goes by quickly," she remarked. And just that sentence demonstrates why she'll become a future icon. The world has already made up its mind, but the committee adhered to their standards and insisted that marketability wasn't one of them. What's even more potent is that Caitlin didn't simply watch Team USA. She studied them, cheered them on, and took advantage of every opportunity. You can't help but worry what the next 4 years will hold given how quickly she's getting better. Will Caitlin Clark bring up the topic of the Olympics again? Is the team spokesperson as well as a candidate? If there's one thing history has taught us, it's that athletes who endure such times don't give up. They return stronger, louder, and more unstoppable than before. It's your time now, though. What are your thoughts? Did Team USA suffer because she was left off the roster? Was this a chance lost? And when she arrives, do you think she'll rule? Leave a comment with your ideas. Your voice has a major role in this. Please remember to hit the notification bell, like, and subscribe if you liked this analysis.